Great. We wanted to record this in case there are folks who registered and can't make it, or folks who were curious about what happened on this call, and maybe they're a new center or an established center and they want to see who else is in the mix. So not sure who will be watching, but hello, everyone who's watching at home. um, I'm glad that we've got about a dozen people registered for this call. I've been wanting to do a call like this for a long time and wasn't sure the best way to do it. And I think this will be a fun way to kind of explore together. So I don't have strong goals in terms of next steps. It's more of uncovering that together, what we think is most useful, most desirable, most connective, that sort of thing. That's what we'll be exploring today. So in that spirit, I do have an agenda, and Aaron and I kind of went through it a little bit more this morning. Some games to try to help us see who's in the room, learn a little bit more about each other as individuals and as centers, and then some kind of visioning and brainstorming around what we're bringing to the table, what would be useful for us to get at the table, and even a little bit into, is there a collaborative piece to this where there's actually work that we want to do, or is this more relational? So kind of uncovering a little more of that. Do we want to just make friends and have someone we can reach out to? Are we looking for a proper mentor or mentee? So we can talk a little bit about that. And then at the end, saving some time to jot down next steps. If there are some leaders that emerge that want to hold more conversations, what would be the timeline for that? We can talk through some of that. Or if there are personal connections through our conversation that you've made or that you would like to make, maybe someone else at your center needs to be a part of this conversation or a part of a conversation with someone else in the room here. We want to make sure we have time set aside for that. I'll give you just a little bit of background before we go into some introductions, but I just want to let you know a little bit more about what you're in the middle of for folks who are new to this space. So this is Retreat Center Collaboration Call. Retreat Center Collaboration is over 350 centers across the United States and Canada, all different traditions, all different ages of centers, budget sizes, staffing models. Really interesting to learn about the different ways that people do retreat. That's been the joy of me being in this role, is learning that. And what's exciting is that because there's so much diversity, we get to learn other ways and reflect on how that might impact our way. So I know there are folks on the call here who have really small spaces and folks on the call who are part of organizations that have been around for a long time. And might be bigger, might have a bigger catalog of programs, but we all have something to offer. So I like to encourage folks to think about how they are also a teacher at the same time as being a learner. And to help us think about that, I'll share this little slide deck of our values. And let me see if I can get my computer to jump on board with me on this. Yes. So our core values here at RCC are the power of place and space, which really works in a lot of different settings. You can talk about a retreat center that is just doing day programming, or you can talk about one that has 300 beds and is doing long-term residency programs. Both of them are working with the power of place and space. We have the interplay of inner and outer work that both depend on the other, that retreat centers have a key role to play in that. And then a commitment to universal flourishing, that this is not just for the benefit of a small select group or for the benefit of people who are enlightened, but it's for the benefit of all in our community, next to our community, and even beyond the human world, the non-human world, the beings that support and surround our centers. It's a community of practice. I like to use that phrase too to help people understand that we're not a membership organization per se right now. So this is really open for retreat center leaders, staff, board, and allied organizations who maybe use retreat centers or are somehow affiliated. We welcome you in these kinds of calls. This call in particular is an interesting example of that. that there's different kinds of practice going on. We have things to learn from each other. And then I'll just read off some of these agreements too, which shape some of our collaborative spaces. Encourage you to speak from your own experience. Remind you that your voice and your story are important to this community. We are all knowers and learners in this space, so we have things to offer and things to receive. We use silence and movement and sound in these calls to help center us. So if we have moments of silence, that's great, that's welcomed. In some ways, that's essential. And we also have movement and sound like a song at the beginning of the call, or an opportunity to do a centering practice that maybe involves the body. Often that is included in our calls as well. We encourage folks who come to these calls to keep each other's stories confidential, but share what you learn. So make sure the sharing gets out. But if it's somebody's own story, let them tell it. It's an invitational space, so if you need to drop out of the call, we get it. It's okay. A lot of us are busy. That's part of why we record the calls as well, and why we often will share notes back to the whole group, so you can catch up with things that you might have missed. Encourage everyone to hold discomfort that emerges on these calls with grace and deep listening. We're not here to fix each other, but we're here to listen and be with each other. And I love this quote from Dr. Leticia Nieto: choice is the smallest unit of liberation. And so we try to make these calls as open as we can, and give you the opportunity to make choices about how you want to participate. So that's the shape of what we're here to do. I'm going to stop that share and try to return to what I have here. I also, before I got into the kind of agenda for today, I wanted to share just that little bit of background, which I think was in the paragraph that I sent out in advance, about how we got here, which was that I keep hearing from people who want to start centers, or people who have bought land and they maybe want to open one, or they have some programming they're doing at other centers, but they want to maybe make their own center, or there's all these little different variations on a theme there. Those folks have been reaching out to me and saying, can I meet peers? Can I meet folks who are established, who have well-run, experienced organizations, and learn from them? I'm not hearing so much, but I am some, from experienced organizations who are like, there are new centers out there who are doing new things. I don't even know for sure what they're doing, but I want to see what it is, because I might be able to apply it in my center too. So there is a two-way street there. We've been hearing this desire for reciprocal relationships, and I don't want to be the matchmaker. So some of this space is about letting you match yourselves. Like, what is it that I need? How can I really focus in on that, and then communicate that so that other folks can give me what I need? I also want to name that RCC is going through a leadership transition, with me resigning at the end of the month. So there's going to be a little gap here, 2 months maybe, where we won't be able to act immediately on creating a new affinity group for folks in this circle. But that doesn't mean that we can't in the future. And it doesn't mean that there aren't things that you might want to do on your own before RCC has more capacity and is able to lead something new going forward. So want to make sure that that's on the table and a part of our conversation, because in some ways RCC is community led. There's, what the community needs drives the direction we're headed. So if there are things that get articulated here, our leadership can take that forward in shaping whatever we want to offer next. Okay. With all that said, maybe we should get each other in the room and hear a little bit about who's here. So thank you to Sister Jane Marie for the little note there. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's go around the room and do some introductions. I was thinking that for the first round, these could be very simple because we have some icebreaker games. So maybe just your name, the name of your retreat center, your location geographically, and then the age of your retreat center. So if you're just starting something, maybe it's 0 or 1 year. And if your center has been around for a long time, it might be nice to also know how long you've been in your role. So sharing about the age of your center can help us get a sense of all the different folks that are here. So I can start and just model it quickly. My name is Ben. I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, so West Michigan, Anishinaabe land here. I'm the program director at the Retreat Center Collaboration, which has been around for 6 years, 2018. I've been in this role, well, I've been working here for 4 years. I've been in this role for 2. Who else would like to go? Maybe just pop a hand up and I'll send it over to you. Yeah, go ahead, Carrie. And then we can popcorn from there. You can call someone else.
Okay, so I'm Carrie Zavala, and my husband and I have a place called the Ludington Hermitage in Ludington, Michigan. And we bought this place, which was built in the 1980s by Sister Kasha, who was a Carmelite nun and came out of the Grand Rapids Diocese, actually. Um, right before COVID, we were thinking about how we were going to start inviting people to retreat at the space. And then, of course, everything came to a screeching halt. So we ended up doing, to pay the bills, short-term seasonal rentals. And that's been really helpful for a few years. But our boiler went out in the fall. And when we got hit with that gigantic expense, I thought, you know what? This is it. This is the fire underneath my feet to get going with how this dream actually, manifested so many years ago. And so I was super excited. I've been waiting for this opportunity to meet with other people who are kind of in the same situation. And just hoping to be able to connect with a mentor as we start up and move forward. Happy to be here. How about Claire?
Thanks, Carrie. Hi, everybody. My name is Claire Anderson. I'm the executive director at Sienna Retreat Center in Racine, Wisconsin, kind of just north of the midpoint between Chicago and Milwaukee on Lake Michigan, land of the Potawatomi and many others. I've been in my role for 12 years, and the building that we currently are in has been around for 10 years, but the ministry has been around for 56 years. It's a ministry, currently it's a nonprofit. Before that, it was a ministry run by the Racine Dominican Sisters. And a retreat ministry started here 58 years ago. So we've been around. We have 68 bedrooms at our center, and we host various group retreats. We sponsor our own retreats and programs. We offer space for private retreats and have a bookstore and some training programs. And great things happening as far as ramping up after the pandemic. We're ramping up. We're still not quite at a level of operations that we had been prior to the pandemic, but we are getting closer and closer to that point every month. So maybe that's it for now. Miss Rose.
Hi, my name is Rose. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, and I know some of the indigenous people are the Mound people. So it's 0 actually for me because I'm dreaming of my own center. However, I do have a unique situation where I attend church hybridly with Indiana, and they operate out of a retreat center that's been around since 1888. And so I've been looking forward to this call because I'm looking forward to having a mentor, and I've been doing research for a couple of years and kind of have a framework of what I think I want my center to look like. So that's it.
Rose, do you want to pass it to somebody? You
Okay.
get to choose.
Andrew.
Thanks, Rose. Morning, everybody. I guess afternoon to some. I'm in Los Angeles. I was fortunate to get introduced to Ben. I've gotten very involved in doing Vipassanas on an annual basis. This has been a pretty impactful and transformative kind of experience in my life. And my career has been primarily real estate development, investment, asset management, and entrepreneurship. And last year, there was just sort of a calling after doing a silent retreat where I realized that kind of my professional and personal paths were intertwining and that I wanted to build a contemplative space. And I kind of set out for the past year really to just create the space in my life to do that. So I've been in heavy exploration for the last 6 months. I have a specific city that I own some real estate in and contemplating kind of in the Southwest to create kind of a retreat center for the current age that we live in is sort of my desire. It's a heavy focus on hospitality, but very much based in contemplative practices ranging from primarily the ethos of being mind-body connection, but yoga, MBSR is a component. I'm actually taking a course right now because I've just been fascinated by kind of what John Kabat-Zinn has built over the years. And, kind of made an offer on something and just being excited to get involved with this organization and a lot of people that have been involved in it for a lot of years. So I'm excited to learn, offer up any of my expertise on the real estate side, which is, kind of what I've done for about 10 years in startups as well. Just kind of frame more of exactly what I intend to do with this space. It's a pretty big undertaking. So excited to be here. How about Susan King?
Thanks, Andrew. Yes, my name is Susan King, and the center that is, the name is Green Terra Retreat and Sanctuary House. I am located on Beaver Island, which is in the top of Lake Michigan. And the house is under construction. It should be physically completed by the July of this year. And I have been using I'm building it next door on my land. Currently, the home I'm living in is house for, we call it the Northern Priory for my religious order. And small groups, gatherings, programs, and retreats are held here several times a year. I'm hoping to expand that and enlarge it to become a place of respite for people who, for a wide variety of needs, need mind, body, soul healing. And also to open up the place for small organizations and other nonprofits around this area and on the island to hold meetings and retreats. I'm a member of what's called the Amic Circle. It's the Amic means beaver in Ojibwa. This is the land of the Odawa, Chippewa, and Ojibwa peoples. And I'm really looking for as roads not to travel, roads to travel. How do we collaboratively share information and direct people that may be appropriate for your place, not mine, that kind of thing, that level of cooperation. And I'm also looking for discussion and brainstorming with people who are interested in the model we're using, which is a gift economy sustainability model that we're going to try and see if we can make float, and hopefully others would be interested in engaging in that conversation. And so I will now turn it over to Dr. Myra. There she is.
Your timing is impeccable. I just literally pulled into a parking space like within seconds. So hello everyone. So yes, my name is Dr. Myra Miller. I am the founder and program director, spiritual director for the Nature Studies Conservatory. We're the expansion of a heart ministry, living sanctuary, and our focus is on really addressing oppression and the eradication of that, and in the sense of using various resources, education services, as well as community development. And so we're almost 3 years in as of September. And then, of course, the pandemic has affected our movement forward. But I'm really excited about 2024 of us actually beginning to be able to work with existing retreat centers and to be able to do our immersion retreats. And just really explore what is possible. We initially were focusing on getting property and having a healing center. So we are a Nature Studies Conservatory Center for Healing Education and Applied Research. However, I'm finding that maybe when we're looking at community building that we can really serve our mission and the Harmony Project that we're working on more effectively by working with existing organizations. So we're really excited about that. We are based in unceded Chumash land, Santa Barbara, California. However, I'm currently in Savannah, and just really open to looking at what is possible with retreat centers, with organizations across the nation. So we're, even though we're based in California, we're very much seeking opportunities to connect with people throughout the United States, as well as potentially outside international. So that's us in a nutshell. And I am ordained as a Church of God in Christ minister, but our work is really interfaith.
Thank you, Dr. Myra. Great to see you. Can you see other folks?
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Are you able to call a name of someone else in the group? I don't know what you can see there.
Okay, let me see. And Ben, so sorry to hear you leaving. I know it's that time, but you'll be truly missed.
Thank you.
Missed. You're an amazing person. Let's see. Sarah Lynn, did you share?
Thank you, Dr. Maya. Yes, so I'm Sarah Lynn. I'm from the Guest House Retreat and Conference Center in Chester, Connecticut. And we have two purposes at our retreat center. One is to serve as a home for the East Coast Diamond Approach groups. And the second is to rent our beautiful venue for other groups who need the space, to hold their retreats. And we've been there 16 years, and I'm in my 10th year as executive director. So happy to be here today and learn more about all of you. And how about Ellen?
I'm Eleanor Shinsky. I use she, her pronouns. I'm based in Washington, D.C., which is the lands of Piscataway and Anacostia peoples. I am in the midst of launching a business called Circle and Spoke. Right now, that version of this business is really focused on women's empowerment through bike rides and retreats. We do not have a physical space that we are operating out of, but I had a lovely conversation with Ben about how I'm also holding simultaneous to this launch of this business, this desire to actually have a physical home and retreat center. So that's why I'm here. So I'm just really excited to connect with other folks who are both in the midst of seeding and planting ideas, and folks who have long held roles within inside of the world of retreats. I, think part of me goes, this is a ludicrous idea to have a physical location, because when the toilet breaks down, you are the one who has to be called. So I know the opportunity to connect with folks who have been through this and have some sage wisdom will be something that I look forward to connecting on. And I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca.
Hi. Hello everybody. It's been a heck of it feels like I was off yesterday. So today feels like Monday and it's Tuesday. So woo woo. So my name is Rebecca Mickler. I am the Assistant Executive Director at Villa Maria Education and Spirituality Center. On a good day, if I take a stone and throw it really, really hard, I can hit Ohio. We are about a half a mile from the Ohio border, but we're located in Pennsylvania. So we're about an hour outside of Cleveland, outside of Pittsburgh. So, right in a sweet spot, but we're still really, really rural. Our retreat center has morphed and transitioned over the time for many, many years. We sit on the property of the Humility of Mary Sisters. There's 98 sisters still in this Catholic order. They always did retreats. However, in 1989, the high school closed. I would have went to this high school, but it closed. And so the irony that now I am helping run the retreat center that's in the shell of the former high school is again transitioned over the course of since 1989. But even before that, these sisters were doing retreats for women. Now it has changed, I think, names 2 or 3 different times. But the focus has always been on the ministry of the sisters and trying to create opportunities for people to come here either on personal retreat, in hosted groups. So we do host a lot of groups here. And we also have our own hosted programs that we run. And I have been here. I'm kind of coming to be a mentor, but I'm also coming to be mentored. It's kind of weird, but in my past life, I was in higher education for 20 years. So I jokingly tell people that when I worked in student affairs, I worked with sorority sisters. So I went from sorority sisters to sister sisters. And it's been a fun ride. So, but yeah, welcome everybody to the call. I see some new faces and I'm excited to meet new people, which is always the fun of RCC calls. I guess maybe because I'm on my iPhone here, everybody can maybe raise your hand if you haven't been called yet. Eve, great. I'm going to pick on you next, Eve. It's because I like your hat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. So my name is Eve Cook. I'm with Elohi Center in North Georgia, land of Cherokee and Muskogee. And I'm one of the founders here, as well as the executive director. We've been around for 13 years. And yes, it's just been a fun ride. And I feel like we're kind of in our teenage years of, there's some new retreat centers, and then there's some ones that have been around for decades. So I feel like we're not new, but we're still growing and learning. And so I really appreciate this platform. It's been very helpful for me. It's a family founded business. We're a nonprofit, but we also, the founders are family, and we don't have background in hospitality, but we believe in the mission of what we do here. And so we kind of lead by heart. And so learning from people who have done it, and then also sharing experiences that we've had along the way
is very interesting to me. I know when we were first starting out, I would interview people. I would do something like this before this ever happened. This was a thing. I would reach out to people and got a lot of. I felt it was helpful to reach out to people who've done something like this before. So yeah, that's me. And let's see, Jamie, have you gone?
That leaves me. Thanks, Eve. I'm Jamie Deering. I'm the Director of Programs Ministry for the Franciscan Sisters of Little Falls. We're in Little Falls, Minnesota, an hour and a half northwest of Minneapolis. The sisters have been in Little Falls for 130 years. And I've been with the sisters in this role for a little over a year now. I can't believe actually it's been that long already. I moved to Minnesota 2 years ago to become part of an intentional community with the sisters, not being Catholic, not being Franciscan, not being a sister. And then I work with them and collaborate in this capacity. It's been a wild, wonderful ride. Up until recently, the focus for the sisters has been continuing education, continual spiritual growth for sisters and associates. And with my coming here, we're expanding. We're ever opening those circles and inviting, especially now that we're post-COVID. We are on the land of the Dakota and Anishinaabe peoples, and that is a very important aspect to what we do here and offer here. Nature, eco-spirituality is one of our focuses here. So I think that's everything for now.
Great. So many interesting like age adjustments in my head where I thought that certain centers had been there longer or shorter. So now I'm kind of recategorizing. Okay. Sienna Retreat Center, 58 years as a ministry. Elohi Center, 13 years, right? And then this like 130 or something. It's like, okay, good. All right. I knew it was long, but I thought it was maybe 90, not 130. So yeah, that's helpful. And then several, zeros and ones and threes, kind of in there. So this is great. This is a nice mix. I'm hoping that we can continue this kind of get to know you period for just a little bit longer by playing a couple games, just to make it a little more playful and to help it sink in a little more. You know how when somebody says something funny, you remember the funny thing and then you're like, who said that? And then you're like, oh, that person that also runs that one center. So we want to have a little of that kind of fun. I wanted to play the game where we all turn off our Zoom cameras and one person has their camera on and they say, if you're like me, you ... whatever it is. And then whoever else also experiences the world that way or has that identity or whatever it is, likes that thing, The example that Aaron and I were playing with was, if you're like me, you talk to trees. And then we just see, and then the whole screen comes up, right? So the idea is that each of us will get a chance to say that phrase, whatever it is. And then we'll see who else in the room might share that with you. So let's practice. And for the folks who are on phones, it might be hard. So if you need to come off mute, if that's easier, whatever works. But if you want to try turning off your camera, so it goes down to just your image. Yep. And then I'll say, if you're like me, you're the oldest sibling in your family. Okay, yeah. Got a few, they keep coming. Good, okay, so there's 5 of us, nice. So then I can pass the baton and someone else will say, if you're like me, and whatever, it can be as playful or silly as you want. So I will turn off my camera and I'm gonna pass it over to Aaron. And Aaron, if you're ready, why don't you do the next one?
Okay, yeah, I'm here. Okay, if you're like me, you like to walk labyrinths. Nice. Good to see so many faces. I'll turn it over to Ellen.
Okay. If you're like me, you really like to drink seltzer water. Then we are the seltzer people. Okay. Great. I'm going to pass it to Carrie.
Oh, you're still on mute. I can't hear you.
Okay, thank you. If you're like me, you enjoy looking for rocks, especially when the sun is shining and there's so much sparkle all around. Yeah. Oh, and I'm going to pass it to Jamie.
If you're like me, you like to sing at the top of your lungs when you're in the car. Nice. And I'm going to pass it to Claire.
All right, friends. If you're like me, there are just about no foods you don't like. All right, let's see, who hasn't had a turn yet? Rebecca?
I did go. Sorry.
All right, Susan?
Okay, if you're like me, you love the sound of wind, water, and rain. Okay, lovely. I'll call on Dr. Myra.
I didn't get a chance to think of one yet. If you're like me, you love the joy of the smallest pleasures of seeing all the packaging of God's creation in nature. Okay. Wow. Okay, so I have to pick someone. Please raise your hand if you have one. That was a really good idea. There.
Okay, so I didn't realize there was another prompted question, Claire. Sorry. And I had to take a work call. What was the question?
Oh, we're doing the if you're like me exercise.
Okay.
Everyone gets to make up their own little question and then see who else is like them. And the people who are like them are going to turn their camera back on. That's like the rules of the game. Yes. And do we have our next question asker chosen? No, we do not. Rebecca, do you want to be a question asker? So just say, if you're like me, you, and then give us a little something that you do or you're into, and you'll see the streams come up.
Okay, so I don't know if this one's already been used. So if you're like me, you're a procrastinator. Like I'm the queen.
Excellent.
But you can always turn negative into it. I always used to say in job interviews, but I can work under deadline.
I'm more motivated.
Yeah.
Sarah Lynn, have you had a chance to go? I'll pass it to you.
Okay. If you're like me, you like to travel every chance you get. Here's my fellow travelers. Great, great. And how about if I choose, let's see who didn't go yet. Did Eve go? Eve?
If you're like me, you love to snuggle your doggies if you have them. Or cats. I don't have cats, but cats too fit. All
What if
right,
you
so
like to
Rose,
sell them and they belong to someone else?
so Rose, are you there? Have you gone yet?
I haven't. If you're like me, you like bird watching.
We got some bird super fans in here. Well, it's a party when you suggest bird watching. Oh, that's great. Anybody not have a chance to go? Okay, that's good. I'm definitely among my people, so that feels great. It's nice to be with your people. I have another game that I thought we might play. This one's not as much of a game, it's more of a yeah, kind of an exercise, a little bit of a mind twister. If you could personify your retreat center as a family member in RCC. So if RCC is the whole family, there's lots of other, kid sister or weird uncle or whatever the character is. What is your retreat center in that big mix? Try not to overthink it. It's probably the gut response.
Oh, well, if we're just going with gut response, I'll say our retreat center is like the great great grandmother. It's got some really old trees on the property, and some of them have branches that are like arms just ready to hug someone.
I would say Sienna Retreat Center is like the older sibling, an older sister, we'll say older sister.
I'd say the Franciscan Sisters of Little Falls are like the grandma that's going to pinch your cheek and bake you cookies.
I would say guest house is the middle child, like the peacemaker.
I'd say Green Terra is like the grandmother that takes you out in nature and teaches you about all of its wonders.
Nature Studies Conservatory is like the new little newborn that just popped out, ready to enjoy the world.
Oh, Ben, this has gotten me all spinning. You say don't overthink it. I'm definitely overthinking this one. I have all these ideas in mind. From whose perspective, I guess, is what I would say. But I think maybe I would say, maybe because I'm the oldest sibling, but the oldest sibling kind of caring and wanting to make everything right and good, but also has rules. And it sounds kind of bad to say that, but that's just like what I've been dealing with as part of doing this retreat center, is having to know where your boundaries are and what you're willing to do and give and all that, but also still holding to your values. So anyway, I might have to just write a whole journal entry about that question later. It might help me with my therapy.
So I'll say that Circle and Spoke is like the friend that got invited to the party who was said, "Oh, you just invited me, like I'll show up to the family gathering," and enthusiastically is there and also is kind of trying to learn the ropes of what the dynamic is and like, is this the place that I should be?
All right, I will go next. So I think Villa Maria would be like the mom. But I'm gonna give you a visual in a minute of the mom I'm kind of thinking of. But and I say mom because this is also the mother house for our sisters. So they come home. So this is like a home, so it feels very homey. A lot of the things we name on our campus is a nod to the Virgin Mary. So Mary's a mother to Jesus. So you know, we have the Annunciation dining room and the the Magnificat dining room. So again, a lot of nods to the Virgin Mary, a lot of statues for her. And then also I think of like, you know, moms make you fat, and this place made me gain weight because our food is so good. So just like a mom cooks really good food, our food is really good like a mom. But in my mind, when I think of like what the mother would be, it's not a younger mom, it's a little older mom. So like my gut reaction when you first said it was Sophia from the Golden Girls mom. Like I'm thinking more like that. Um, Only because some of our stuff is a little outdated. So jokingly, I always say like this building reminds me of like the Golden Girls furniture. So again, like my gut reaction, but it's good stuff because you'd sit on the wicker furniture. You know, you'd sit on the wicker furniture. So again, I think of Sophia specifically, that type of mother when I think of here.
So when I think of Silver Falls Retreat Center where worship, uh, you know, it was established in 1888, and it's like the fun, eccentric aunt, and it makes you want to grow up and be like her. So, you know, I'm kind of launching my own or wanting to do my own. So that's what I think.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great image. Like, I didn't know you could do things that way. I want to do it that way. I like that. Yeah. Did anyone miss their chance? Anyone else still want to share? Okay, the next piece that I have set up here is just some visioning together. The prompt question is, are you coming into the call with a vision for what a companion center might look like for you? So a companion center, as opposed to a whole lot of centers that are your companions, which may also be a possibility. But if you're on the playground and you're picking out your new best friend and you're in second grade or something, what is that companion center that you're looking for that you will really hit the spot? Is it a peer that shares a lot of similar programming, or is it someone who's sort of like this eccentric aunt that actually does things very differently from how you do, and it would be great to bounce ideas back and forth. If you can take a few minutes to chew on that, I'd be curious to hear folks speak into it if it's clear. If it's not clear, that's okay. I'm just curious if there are some really clear ones so that Erin and I can track, you know, what is it that you really want from a companion? And maybe it's not, maybe a single companion center is not what you're looking for. So that's fine too. We could name that. I have a few other prompts that we could go deeper with it, but I'll let you chew on that for a second.
Okay, I'm not sure if this is the answer you want, Ben, but I had envisioned maybe sort of a council, like a Jedi council of some of the centers that had the best things that I think I like, and be able to sort of pick their brains or just ask them, I really like this about your center, or these are my top three centers, dream centers, and what do you think? So it's sort of a counsel, I guess.
That's great. That's very helpful. I like dream centers and Jedi Council. Those are helping me a lot. Yeah.
I would second that emotion. I would, what I like about the council and the dream center is I don't want a think tank. I want a heart-centric, creative, sparking, thinking outside of the box, how to be responsive to where we're going and what it is that is showing up a need that we haven't yet gotten to.
I want to add another thought. Kind of also a doula, somebody who's as excited about the birth of my center as they are about their own.
Dang. Keep it coming, Rose. That's a really beautiful image. Yes, great. I often think of RCC as a doula, helping birth connections, but I haven't thought of someone being a doula for an individual center. Like, let's help it get born. Yeah. Hmm.
There's an aspect of bridging. So I'm thinking about the things that we're offering now, a mental health series that's bringing together clergy and mental health professionals for facilitated conversations. Thinking about the Real Conversation series that we're offering that brings people from Latin America and offers Spanish translation, so that anyone can participate. For me, it's bridging. I'm interested in hearing the ideas that continue to not only pay attention to what's emerging, but to take action around that, so that the circle is ever expanding, the growth, the potential, the transformation is ever expanding. And I need to go, and I'm so sorry that I need to go. So with that, I wish you all well and be in touch.
For me, when I hear people wanting to start retreat centers, I get so excited for them because I think of the creativity and the enthusiasm and all of the dreaming coming through and the visions, and that's a really fun part for me. So I like to hear people's visions, and oftentimes when guests come here, they say, I got this land and we want to start something like this, and I'm so excited because I think there can't be enough of this type of thing happening around. And so for me, I get excited about seeing people get excited, and it helps bring back the excitement for me, because it is a lot of work too and difficult sometimes. And I think also I'm looking for people who I can talk to about, what did you do when this happened, or how do you deal with that when that happened, as far as just the ins and outs of business. So both of those pieces, the beginning creativity part, and then also finding connections on people who want to get real and talk about some of the things that are difficult doing this and bringing this to this beautiful thing that we all wanted so much to a reality to make it really great for people. Hopefully that doesn't sound too negative. I feel like I've been kind of negative here with rules and blah, blah, blah. But I'm just
But it's
sitting
got to
in
be
with.
the big sister. Yeah.
So I'm just coming at you real where I am sitting right now.
And for me, that sounds helpful because I hadn't even considered like a council, and I really love that idea actually. And I'm thinking that when I came into this call, I was thinking how, for me personally, it would be so helpful to have like a one-on-one kind of mentor to figure out some of those nuts and bolts um, of the things that are really hard in the beginning. And you know, other people have figured these out already. And rather than spend all this time and energy like trying to figure these things out, help, a place to ask for help. And for me, it's really helpful to just actually have a place to like talk out loud. Like, you know, I process and, you know, I love to get things out on paper, but sometimes it can be so helpful to just talk out loud. And that helps me to get things a little bit more like firmed up in my own brain. And it also acts as a bit of like accountability, like, oh, I've shared this out loud with someone. And so, you know, how do I tend to this now?
I so much resonate with that. Just speaking it out loud sometimes, just, hey, this is what's happening. And that kind of dissipates a little bit.
Anyone else holding a vision for what a companion center might be that they want to share?
Yes. Um, so this idea of the Nature Studies Conservatory being this newborn, you know, finding their way, definitely mentorship. So I think Carrie had mentioned that. So I'm very much feeling that that would be something for our organization as well. I like what Rose said about doula. Actually, I am a certified doula as well. So I've worn many hats in my life. But also knowing that as there are the visions, that sometimes we can get really good at visioning, but it's another thing about having that community to cultivate those visions, to not just water them and fertilize them, but literally the love that grows things. And so I think for our organization, we need that community. So not just, okay, I want to connect with you for I give you this, you give me that, but really what is, and I think someone had mentioned about the heart-centric, about that genuine connection and being able to build together. And I would love at some point really kind of thinking about what RCC is about, is that collaborative coming together and all the organizations being able to build together, like those relationships. I think that's really what's huge for me, is the real relationships, those connections. So yes, we're getting things done, we're getting visions and missions accomplished, but just the people aspect, because this is not easy. And yes, there's resources, but depending on what kind of organization you have, and how you're trying to meet the need, there may not always be some of the more professional, quote unquote, resources that can really connect to your vision. So, and in the most basic way, they're like, oh yeah, we see what you want, but there's not the heart connection to that. There's a difference between the mental understanding and the actual heart aspect of it as well. So that's what comes up for me for our organization.
Yeah, I could really hear that theme of relationship in what you were saying, Dr. Myra, that it's not just an intellectual kind of toolkit dump, but it's an ongoing kind of feeding off of each other, supporting each other through conversation, making things real that way. Feeling like you have someone you can lean on. Yeah.
Yeah, a term I would use, and as I'm listening to everyone that I was saying, is that soul friend colleagues, where the conversation is real, it comes from the heart, and it's a place where we can share what we know, we can ask for what it is we need in terms of shared resources, and be able to, as I say, operate from who we truly are and what it is that we desire to accomplish. That from that space I could learn so much from all of you, and probably it may be, I mean, there's possibility that it may be mutual.
I don't want to step in if other folks are primed to share. This is a sharing space, not a Ben space. uh, Other folks have something coming up they want to talk about? I was thinking that I might.
I do have a.
Go ahead.
Please excuse the background. Someone has a rather large, loud car. I think it would really, I mean, I guess this probably ties into the mentorship, but I guess people's stories, like, because people have a vision, they know what they want to create, but when you talk about serving the community, that vision may morph as one gets more into implementing and actually engaging with people and really finding out what their needs are in the community. I would love if we could somehow integrate that. So yes, it would be considered mentorship, quote unquote, but there's something about one's personal story is not just about giving information, but literally encouragement. And to know that, okay, yes, an organization, a retreat center might be in existence for 20, 30 years, but kind of like how they've been able to navigate the various things that happen. Like, of course, a lot of organizations had to navigate the pandemic, but literally how they were able to still be in touch with their vision and their mission, but at the same time, grow and develop. And in some cases, their work presently looks very different from where they started. So I think that would be wonderful to be able to hear some of those evolution stories as well.
Yeah, so often it's non-linear and we expect it to be linear. And once you start hearing the stories, you're like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not that far off track because it's not linear anyways. And it's really rewarding to hear from people you respect that their journey was also not linear or didn't appear linear at the time.
Yeah, I think it's fun to look back on the years that have gone by, and you never know. Where I am now is not where I thought I would be back then, but it's been a beautiful journey, and it's just as good as I thought it would. Like, how do you know how things are going to evolve? You try your best and do the things, and then this beautiful path opens up that you're like, oh wow, I didn't imagine that. That's pretty cool, and so it kind of goes all these different ways, and having the holding on for the ride or something. I don't know. I think the heart-centered part of it for me, that's been the biggest driving force, is the heart-centered part, just following your heart and trusting that things are going to fall into place. And so I like that. Whoever said that there, I agree with.
I'm prepped to share a slide that talks about the spectrum of collaboration, which I find is a helpful kind of roadmap sometimes to understand what it is that we want to be doing or don't want to be doing, what we have capacity to do when we say, oh, I would love to collaborate with you. I would love to start a mentorship relationship with you. And on the slide, it's not as much about what we're talking about in this moment, this non-linear, non-spectrum necessarily, more heart-centered approach, relational approach that can change over time and grow and mature. But there's a little of that in it. So I want to share the slide just so you can get a sense of how we've maybe moved away from this slightly more dry spectrum. But you can see this is, about information. It's awareness broadly. It's impersonal in some ways. You're exchanging information, but then you move into peer support, which does feel relational, and it is about caring for each other. And from the left to the right, our trust, alignment, and integration are getting stronger. Joint projects and programs doesn't sound quite like what we're talking about when more want to hear the stories. But in some ways, there could be some pieces of this that might come out of your relationship. You might understand how certain projects or programs were formed. It may impact the way you form your own. And it could even get to the point of their support becomes key to whatever strategy you might develop or something else down the road. But I like thinking about how we're really looking at a deeper, more heart-centered version of peer support here in the middle. When I was, hold on, let me find out where to get out of that. When I was thinking about these calls, I was thinking about matchmaking in this very one-on-one way. And I'm hearing some more variety around a long-term relationship, maybe with a Jedi council or dream centers. Those dream centers might be a little different for each person, but they might not. It might be nice to have a diverse council of 6 centers that are all somebody's dream. And so I'd be curious to see where we might take that and how that might actually open up all kinds of new collaborative ways that we haven't tried yet because we haven't gone on that polarity, old and new, before to connect centers across those differences. Before closing the call, I wanted to make sure that if there are folks here who want to have connection going forward, you make sure you share your information here or ask us to share it and connect you after the call. Aaron and I are happy to do that. I don't want you to feel like we're teasing you, dangling the carrot. yeah, maybe you could have relationships. Nope, we're not going to let you know who these people are. So make sure you chat with each other or put your contact information in the chat if you'd like. The other piece that I want to make sure we talk about is that there may be individual threads here that you want to follow on your own. There may be a little more journaling, like Eve, you were saying, you might want to go a little deeper on this dynamic that you're uncovering. And you may actually be able to isolate more clearly what qualities this dream center might have. The things that you really want to see up close or be able to talk through with a leader. If there are some easy action steps for you coming out of this call, I encourage you to jot those down. Maybe it's some journaling. Maybe it's that you want to, give so-and-so a call who's on this call today and chat a little bit more. Or maybe it's you're realizing that there's a certain age of center. You want to talk to a center that's 2 years older than you that can say, hey, when we were in your shoes 2 years ago, this is what we learned. Whatever that is, your your wish list, encourage you to jot down some of those easy action steps that you can follow on your own, especially as RCC's capacity is going to be a little bit smaller for the next couple months. Any action steps that you can take that can keep these connections strong would be great. If there are other things that are wanting to happen, I encourage you to pop them into the Facebook group. The Facebook group is a great way to kind of track where conversations have been, a great way to tag folks and keep them looped into questions you're asking or that are kind of pressing for you now. I think Aaron is putting, the link is in the chat there. I'm also curious though, to open up even a kind of this question of what else is wanting to happen. So if, maybe companion centers is wanting to happen, maybe it's only wanting to happen for a few people. Maybe other folks are interested in this Jedi Council, which is slightly different than a companion. Is there something else that's also wanting to happen that we've maybe brushed over here? I want to make sure we name what other little things have maybe come out of this conversation. I think relationship is one that I heard, that heart-centered connection. Anything else that you heard or that's coming up for you now as we come to the close?
Well, I'll just say that I feel like the heart-centered part of it is where we all have connection with. Like we all have that. That's why we're here, right? Doing this and getting what we're doing feels good and important in the world, kind of changing the world in this small scope that we can. And that's my biggest driving force. For me, the thing that I need, that I would like the most in connection with somebody, is to just talk about if anyone wants to talk about how you handle, for me, the biggest difficulties have been staffing and also contracts with groups. So those have been my two biggest hurdles because I am heart-centered. So I tend to give away a lot and then it ends up not working out very well. So that's where I feel like I would love to, if anyone feels that way too. I'm trying to figure out how to maintain a heart-centered vision, but with also having to, for Elohi, we've had to start reframing the way we're speaking with facilitators who want to book our place, saying more that we're in partnership. This is not you're hiring us or we're hiring you kind of thing. We want to be in partnership with each other and have this mutual respect with each other. And that goes both ways, right? And so that's kind of where I struggle with. So if anybody struggles with that too, I would love to talk to you about that.
Well, I see heads nodding, and I know that personally for myself, like I have like 2 retreat groups coming in, and I need to figure out like what, how to put a contract together even.
Mhm.
So maybe that's something, if we're not meeting here for a couple of months, maybe we can figure out how to do that in the meantime.
Yeah. And I will tell you, Terry, I think you said you're just starting out, and you know, our contract went from a page and a half to it's like 8 pages long now because of our experience over the past 13 years. And once something happens, you know, you have to, oh, well, now I have to add that into the contract, and I have to add that into the contract. So, and then even though it's in the contract, you still get pushback, even though they sign the thing. So I'm happy to talk to you about my experience with that if you want to.
Yeah. Thank you, because actually my comment comes up from looking, I just had remembered that somewhere on RCC, there was a spot where I think it was asked, where did people have examples of contracts? And I could only find one, and it was related to being like a wedding venue, and it just didn't seem to fit very well. It had a lot of stuff in it, but I thought, there must be another kind of contract out there that maybe would be more conducive to what I'm hoping to be able to host.
Yeah, I'd be happy to show you our contract, but it's it could probably, you know, probably might be different from yours, but it definitely has evolved over the years, and we still are editing it as the time goes on.
Thank you.
All right, on these email addresses.
Yeah, I would love to see that too, Eve, because I'm in the process of creating contracts that will probably be multiple contracts because there'll be different kinds of engagements. And
Mhm.
I can't envision that a one contract will meet it all. But if you've got 8 pages, I also can't imagine that you aren't covering so many things that I need to cover that I could make 6 contracts out of that.
Right. Well, we all have multiple contracts too.
Mhm.
Depending on, but yes, it starts getting more complicated than you think. You're like, oh, just come and rent the space and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And then no, it doesn't.
Yep.
Cool. So that's Susan King.
Yep. And I put my contact information in the chat.
Erin, is it possible for you to get the emails all together and send it to
Yeah,
us somehow?
I'll plan to send out a follow-up email after the call that sort of condenses both the recording, the notes, and all of that information into one email. So you'll all be getting that after the call, probably later this week.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Is there a way to look at the
Fabulous.
chats after the call is over, or is that they're gone after the call's over, right?
Yeah, I save a copy of the chat to the end of the notes document.
Okay, cool. You're awesome.
Yeah, sometimes the simplest things, but when you get it to scale, it's like, that I can't think that big, but Aaron can. Aaron's got it.
Yeah, you're on it. Can we hire you? Sorry. Just kidding.
Just kidding. Talk. P.S. Email me later. I was looking to see the folder that I think, Carrie, you were describing, where we did have some contracts that folks had already shared, and I'm having a hard time finding it. So if I can find that, I can give that to Aaron, and we can include that in the notes doc, so it's linked again. Some other samples that just give you different ways to think about contracts.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I need to get ready for my next meeting, but this has been wonderful. I'm looking forward to the future. Bye.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm glad that we had this conversation. It's the beginning of something cool. So
Yes. And Ben, I don't know if this is appropriate to ask you right now, but can you share where you're going?
I don't know where I'm going yet. I'm waiting for Spirit to show me. So
I love that answer.
I'm listening.
That sounds perfect.
Thanks for a very engaging Zoom and Space of Connection. Have a great day,
You're
y'all.
welcome. You're welcome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.